I'm joined by Congressman Steve Womack, Republican from Arkansas, and a member of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's good to be with you, Kristen.
So let me just start off on your thoughts about the prospects for this bill getting passed. How confident are you that Speaker McCarthy will get the votes to pass his debt limit plan?
Why don't we talk about that here in a few hours after the Rules Committee. You know, they're meeting right now and they're discussing it. We went into the week, knowing that there were some issues regarding the ethanol subsidies that some of our Corn Belt people were concerned about. Some resistance on the work requirements for federal benefits. So there are still some fractions of the caucus that are having trouble coalescing around this entire bill. But what I've said repeatedly, and I'll say again today, this is, and you just said it, this is about getting us to the table on negotiations. So this is Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House's way of pulling from each of the corners of our particular conference the best ideas that we have of what it would take for us to be able to agree to raising the debt ceiling. You know, we're $32 trillion in debt. We're going to add about $1.4 trillion-ish to the national debt this particular year. Interest payments on the national debt are at record levels. So I think this is a reflection of where we believe the country should be going, the direction it should take to start solving for that fiscal issue.
So Congressman, just to be very clear, and again, as I laid out at the top, he can only afford 4 GOP defectors. You are saying right now it's just not clear that the votes are there at this present point.
Well, I would say as you and I are talking, the votes may not be there. I am not privy to what those discussions are. I know the Speaker was meeting with the Iowa Republicans today. I know that there have been other communiques with people that have some different thoughts about different pieces of it. And whenever you propose you know, the number and type of issues that we think should be addressed, whether it's capping spending or whether we should claw back unspent COVID funds, as I said, Green New Deal subsidies that are involved in this, you know, student loan repayment. Those are the areas that we are dealing with right now that have come from the four corners of our conference, and that's what Kevin is trying to do. He's trying to put together a package that we can rally behind and get us to the negotiating table, knowing, as you said, knowing that what we're going to get in return is going to look different than what we send over. But the first thing we have to do is find 218 for this.
Let me ask you this question. You tweeted that, quote, maintaining the full faith and credit of our nation is paramount. If that means supporting a clean debt limit extension, would you vote for that if it came down to the wire?
Well, we're not there yet, so I can't answer that question. What I will tell you is that, I stand by what I say about not defaulting on the full faith and credit of our country, but I do think in any serious negotiation, you have to have two parties willing to sit down at the table and discuss. We have put forward a list of things that we would like to see in it. The other side is saying we want a clean debt ceiling. Somewhere in between is reality. I would hope that my friends on the other side of the aisle and the White House would be willing to come back with some compromises, because I think the general public, the American people, realize you can't keep digging this hole deeper and deeper, and a clean debt ceiling commissions more of the same.
But I hear you saying you're not ruling out necessarily supporting a clean debt limit if that's what's necessary to keep the country from going over the cliff.
You just never say what you'll never do. And I'm not willing to sign up for that, because I don't want that to be the marker that we're using to judge whether or not we have a deal. I will not be engaged in those discussions. That will be the Speaker and his leadership team. But somewhere out of this, we've got to come to agreement as a body, as a Congress, that we can't continue digging this hole deeper than it already is.
Congressman, I wonder if you can put this into context for us in terms of what you think it means for Speaker McCarthy. Do you think his speakership could be on the line with not just this vote, but with this moment to try to get the debt limit raised?
Well, I think not. Look, I give Kevin props for being able to put a fractious conference together the way he has, having gone through 15 rounds in the Speaker's vote back in January, and to be where we are today, where he's got literally 4 or 5 different caucuses within the conference that are working together for a compromise deal that we think makes sense, that Democrats ought to come to the table and be willing to discuss with us. So I give him high marks for that. I don't think his speakership is necessarily imperiled by that. I think the answer to that question will be when it's all said and done, did we get 218? Were we able to coalesce around the bill? Were we able to get across the finish line and enter those negotiations? That is the ultimate test of leadership.
Congressman, what would you personally be willing to sacrifice to get a deal done on this? Is there something you can identify that you'd be willing to drop?
Well, I'm a senior appropriator, so, the appropriations business is something that I do. I'm a former budget chair. Look, I'd like to have some spending restraint. I would really like for us to be able to agree that we're spending too much money. Now, are we going to do it? Are we going to fix the balance sheet of the federal government on the discretionary budget alone? No. But I think it would be a step in the right direction and send a signal to the American people that the Congress recognizes you cannot continue to outspend your revenues. We spent $6.2 trillion last year. We made $4.9 trillion. We have $1.4 trillion hole that we're going to add to the current debt. And I think in anybody's book, that is an unacceptable condition for the country, and it's not sustainable, and we should be doing something about it.
All right, Congressman Steve Womack, thank you so much for joining us, for bringing us your perspective as we continue to watch these very important talks about the debt limit. Hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.